Let me ask you something, and I want you to answer honestly, even if it feels uncomfortable. Have you noticed that you forget things more often than before? Names, small tasks, simple details you used to remember easily. Have you noticed that it's harder to focus, harder to stay present, harder to finish a thought without reaching for your phone? And have you felt that strange feeling that days are passing, routines repeat, and life feels like it's on autopilot? If any of this sounds familiar, listen very carefully, because nothing is wrong with your intelligence. But something important is happening quietly inside your head. Your brain is aging. Not suddenly, not dramatically, not in a way that scares you enough to act. It's aging silently, and that's what makes it dangerous. You don't wake up one day and lose your sharpness. You lose it slowly, day by day, through comfort, routine, screens, and avoidance. And the scariest part is this: most people don't realize it until it's already gone. You wake up, check your phone, follow the same routine, think the same thoughts, avoid anything uncomfortable, scroll through other people's lives, and fall asleep tired without feeling truly alive. Your body moves, but your mind is half asleep. This is what it means to be awake, but not alive. A kind of zombie mode. You're functioning, but you're not fully present. You're surviving, but you're not thinking deeply, creatively, or sharply anymore. Here is the truth most people don't want to hear. Your brain is not dying because of age or disease. It's aging because it's not being used the way it was designed to be used. The brain is a muscle. And like any muscle, if you stop challenging it, it doesn't stay the same. It weakens. Comfort does not protect the brain. Comfort slowly destroys it. Think about how often your brain feels challenged in a real way. Not entertained. Not distracted. Challenged. When was the last time you struggled to learn something new? When was the last time you felt mentally uncomfortable in a good way? When was the last time your brain had to work, adapt, and grow? For many people, the honest answer is, I don't remember. Instead, the brain gets sugar hits from screens. Easy dopamine. Endless scrolling. Short videos. No effort, no depth, no resistance. Routine takes over. Same roads, same conversations, same habits, same thoughts. And avoidance becomes normal. Avoid hard conversations. Avoid learning new skills. Avoid silence. Avoid being alone with your thoughts. All of this feels safe. But safety is not what keeps the brain young. Challenges. This video is not here to entertain you with cute tips. It's not here to make you feel good for 5 minutes, and then forget everything. This is a wake-up call. A quiet one, but a serious one. Because if you don't take control of your brain now, it will slowly give up on you. Not loudly, not with pain, but with fog, distraction, forgetfulness, and a life that feels smaller every year. The good news is this: brain aging is not permanent. It is reversible. And it does not require genius, money, or complicated science. It requires awareness, courage, and daily habits that wake your brain up again. That's what this video is about. A real fight for your mind. To keep it young, sharp, creative, and alive, even as time moves forward. And while you're listening, something else is happening. You're also training your English. You are hearing clear sentences, simple ideas, and powerful vocabulary used naturally. This is intentional. Because learning a language is one of the best ways to keep the brain young. When you listen carefully, understand meaning, and think in English, your brain is already working, already stretching, already growing. So don't listen passively. Be present. Let these words land. Let them make you uncomfortable in the right way. Because the moment you become aware is the moment change becomes possible. Remember this as we move forward. If you don't fight for your brain now, one day it will quietly give up on you. If part 1 woke you up, this part might make you uncomfortable. And that's a good sign. Because now we are going to talk about the real enemy of a young brain. Not age. Not stress. Not lack of talent. The real enemy is comfort. Comfort feels safe. Comfort feels normal. Comfort feels like something you deserve after working hard. But comfort is also the fastest way to make the brain weak, slow, and old. A brain that is always comfortable slowly forgets how to grow. Think about your daily life. You wake up at the same time. You reach for your phone before your feet touch the floor. You follow the same route. You talk to the same people. You do the same tasks in the same way. You eat similar food. You avoid things that feel hard, awkward, or uncomfortable. At the end of the day, you feel tired, but not fulfilled. Busy, but not sharp. This is not because you are lazy. It's because your brain has been living in easy mode for too long. The brain was designed to adapt, to solve problems, to struggle a little. When it doesn't get that, it doesn't stay neutral. It declines. Easy routine kills curiosity. No challenge kills focus. No struggle kills growth. And when growth stops, aging begins. Let's look at some everyday habits that quietly make the brain old. First, always using your dominant hand. It sounds harmless, but it's a powerful signal to the brain. When you always use the same hand for brushing your teeth, eating, opening doors, writing, your brain runs on autopilot. No effort. No new connections. But when you use your other hand, suddenly everything feels strange. Your brain has to slow down, focus, and adapt. That awkward feeling is not failure. It's growth. Without it, the brain stays lazy. Second, avoiding difficult tasks. Many people say, "I'll do it later," or "That's not for me," or "I'm not good at that." Speaking a new language, learning a new skill, having a hard conversation, trying something unfamiliar. Avoidance feels good in the moment. But every time you avoid difficulty, your brain learns one lesson. We don't need to grow. Over time, it stops trying. Third, unconscious multitasking. Listening to a video while scrolling. Eating while watching something. Talking while checking messages. This trains the brain to stay shallow. It never goes deep. It never concentrates fully. And a brain that never goes deep loses the ability to think clearly for long periods. Focus becomes fragile. Memory becomes weak. Thinking becomes scattered. Fourth, never thinking deeply. Many people consume information all day but rarely reflect. They read headlines, watch short clips, hear opinions, but they don't stop to ask, "What do I really think?" Deep thinking feels hard. Silence feels uncomfortable. So the brain is constantly fed, but never trained. And an untrained brain ages fast. Let me tell you a real-life type story. David was 44. Smart, successful, but constantly tired. He told himself, "This is just life." He forgot names. He lost focus easily. Conversations felt shallow. When he asked his doctor why his brain felt old, the answer surprised him. "Because you stopped doing hard things years ago." David wasn't sick. He was comfortable. His life had no resistance. No mental friction. He started small. Cold showers for 20 seconds. Reading books that challenged his beliefs. Walking alone without his phone. Speaking up even when his voice shook. After 1 month, he said something powerful. "My brain feels awake again. Not because of medicine. Because of struggle." Another story. Eliza avoided silence. She filled every moment with noise. Music, podcasts, videos, messages. When she stopped, anxiety came. But that anxiety was not the enemy. It was a signal. Her brain had forgotten how to be still. She started taking short walks without her phone. At first, it felt unbearable. Then something changed. She noticed trees. She noticed thoughts. She noticed herself. Her mind became calmer, clearer, and surprisingly younger. Not because life got easier, but because her brain started working again. Here is the insight you need to remember clearly. A brain that is never challenged slowly forgets how to grow. Growth does not come from comfort. Growth comes from resistance. From doing things that feel slightly hard, slightly uncomfortable, slightly unfamiliar. That discomfort is not a threat. It's a signal that your brain is alive. If you want to keep your brain young, you must change your relationship with comfort. Stop asking, "How can I make this easier?" and start asking, "How can I make this meaningful?" Stop running from difficulty and start using it as training. In the next part, we will talk about specific daily habits that wake the brain up again. Simple actions. No theories. Things you can start today. But remember this before we move on. To keep your brain young, you must make it uncomfortable again. Now that you understand why comfort quietly makes the brain old, it's time to talk about what actually keeps it young. Not theory, not motivation, habits. Small, physical, repeatable actions that wake your brain up again. The kind you can start today, not next month, not when life is easier. Because the truth is simple. Your brain does not change through thinking alone. It changes through action. The most important thing to remember in this part is this. You do not need big changes. You need small resistance done daily. New stimulus creates new neural paths. And new neural paths keep the brain flexible, alert, and young. Let's start with the first habit. Use your non-dominant hand. The hand you don't normally use. This may sound almost too simple, but don't underestimate it. When you always use your dominant hand, your brain switches to autopilot. It doesn't need to think. It doesn't need to adapt. But the moment you brush your teeth, eat, write, or open doors with the other hand, something interesting happens. You feel awkward, slow, slightly frustrated. And that feeling is gold. That is your brain waking up. Why does this work? Because the brain is forced to create new connections. It can't rely on old patterns. It must pay attention. It must learn again. And learning is what keeps the brain young. You don't need to do this all day. Just choose one activity. Brushing your teeth. Eating breakfast. Writing a few words. Do it every day. It will feel uncomfortable at first. That's the point. The second habit is doing one hard thing every day. Not 10. Not something extreme. Just one thing that feels a little uncomfortable. Something your brain wants to avoid. Speaking English even when you're scared. Reading a few pages of a difficult book. Starting a task you've been delaying. Saying no when you usually say yes. Having a conversation you've been avoiding. Most people wait to feel confident before they act. But confidence does not come before action. It comes after. Every time you do one hard thing, your brain receives a message. We can handle this. And that message builds strength. Over time, your brain stops fearing discomfort and starts growing from it. Remember this. A life without challenge feels safe, but it slowly makes the brain fragile. A life with small daily challenges builds a brain that stays sharp and resilient. The third habit is light cold exposure. Not extreme. Not dangerous. Just enough to wake the system. At the end of your shower, turn the water slightly cold for 20 to 30 seconds. Your body will react immediately. Your breathing changes. Your mind becomes alert. For that short moment, you are fully present. Why does this matter for the brain? Because cold exposure activates your nervous system. It sends a clear signal. Pay attention. Something is happening. This breaks mental fog. It pulls you out of autopilot. You don't need long ice baths. You don't need to suffer. Just a short, controlled shock that reminds your brain how to wake up. Many people say, I hate cold showers. Of course you do. That's why they work. Comfort never wakes the brain. Resistance does. The fourth habit is walking without your phone. This may be one of the hardest habits for modern life. Most people cannot walk for 10 minutes without checking something. Messages, music, notifications. But your brain needs silence the way your body needs sleep. When you walk without your phone, your brain does something it rarely does anymore. It observes. It reflects. It connects ideas. It processes emotions. At first, this feels boring or uncomfortable. Thoughts come up. Restlessness appears. That doesn't mean something is wrong. It means your brain is finally being used again. Walking without a phone lowers stress, improves memory, and boosts creativity. You don't need nature or a perfect place. Just walk. 10 minutes. No input. Let your mind move freely. This habit alone can change how clear and young your brain feels. Now let's talk about why all of this works. New stimulus creates new neural paths. When you do the same things the same way every day, your brain reuses old paths. Over and over. No growth. But when you introduce small changes, your brain must adapt. And adaptation is the definition of youth. You might be thinking, this sounds too small to matter. That's because you're used to thinking in extremes. But the brain doesn't change through big actions done once. It changes through small actions done consistently. You don't need to become a new person overnight. You need to become slightly uncomfortable every day. That's it. Choose one habit to start with. Not all of them. 1. Use your other hand. Do one hard thing. End your shower with cold water. Walk without your phone. Pick one and commit to it for 7 days. Then add another. This is how rewiring works. Slowly, quietly, daily. Let me give you a simple structure you can remember. Every day, ask yourself one question. What did I do today that made my brain work? If the answer is nothing, you stayed comfortable. If the answer is something small but real, you're growing. And remember this insight. Your brain doesn't need comfort. It needs resistance. In the next part, we will talk about how to protect your brain from modern damage. Screens, noise, endless routine. Because waking the brain up is important, but protecting it is just as critical. Up to this point, we've talked about waking the brain up through resistance and challenge. But there is another side to this fight that is just as important. Training the brain means nothing if you keep damaging it every day. You don't just need to exercise your brain. You need to protect it. Because modern life is quietly attacking it from all directions. The first and most dangerous enemy is screen addiction. Not technology itself, but the way we use it. Endless scrolling, constant checking, jumping from one piece of content to another without stopping. This creates what we can call attention death. Your brain loses the ability to stay with one thought, one idea, one moment. Every time you scroll, your brain receives a small hit of dopamine. A cheap reward. Not because the content is meaningful, but because it is new. New image. New sound. New message. The brain loves novelty, but it was never designed for constant novelty without rest. Over time, this trains the brain to expect stimulation every few seconds. When it doesn't get it, boredom feels painful. Silence feels uncomfortable. Focus feels impossible. This is why many people say, I can't concentrate anymore. It's not that they are weak. It's that their brains have been overstimulated for too long. When the brain lives in constant noise, it never recovers. It stays tired, shallow, reactive. And here is the real danger. A brain that never experiences silence loses depth. It cannot reflect. It cannot connect ideas. It cannot feel meaning fully. It becomes fast but empty, busy but dull. That's why silence is no longer optional. It is medicine. Your brain needs moments with no input. No screen. No sound. No notifications. Even 5 or 10 minutes a day can change how your mind feels. Silence is where the brain resets, where thoughts slow down, where clarity returns. The second major area of damage is sleep. Most people sleep, but very few truly rest. They sleep with lights on, with noise, with their phone next to their head, notifications buzzing, screens glowing, and they wonder why they wake up tired. Sleep is not just rest for the body. It is repair time for the brain. During deep sleep, the brain cleans itself. It organizes memory. It resets emotions. But this only happens when sleep is deep and uninterrupted. Light is the enemy of deep sleep. Even small lights can confuse the brain. Noise keeps the nervous system alert. A phone near your head keeps your brain in a state of readiness, waiting for the next signal. If you want to protect your brain, your sleep environment must change. Make your room dark as possible. Make it quiet. Remove unnecessary sounds. Keep your phone away from your head, ideally outside the room. This is not extreme. It is basic brain care. People often underestimate this. They say, it's just sleep. But poor sleep slowly destroys memory, focus, emotional control, and mental sharpness. Good sleep restores them. You don't need more hours. You need better conditions. The third silent killer is routine. Not routine itself, but routine without variation. Doing the same things, in the same way, every day. Same road. Same food. Same conversations. Same thoughts. This puts the brain into permanent autopilot. Autopilot feels efficient, but it is dangerous for the brain. When nothing changes, the brain stops paying attention. Life becomes predictable. Time passes faster. Days blend together. And slowly, the brain becomes passive. This is why people say, "Where did the years go?" It's not time moving faster. It's the brain recording less. When everything feels the same, the brain stops creating strong memories. To protect your brain from this trap, you need variation. Small changes. Different routes. Different foods. New music. New questions. New perspectives. You don't need a new life. You need small disruptions that force the brain to notice again. Even simple changes matter. Walking a different way. Eating in a different place. Rearranging your room. Listening to a language you don't understand. Asking a deeper question. These small variations keep the brain awake. Now connect all of this together. Screens create constant noise. Noise kills focus. Poor sleep prevents repair. Routine removes novelty. And together, they create a tired brain. Not sick. Not broken. Just exhausted. Here is the insight you must remember. A noisy life creates a tired brain. You cannot train a brain that is constantly under attack. Protection comes first. Silence. Quality sleep. Variation. These are not luxuries. They are necessities. And here is the shift you need to make. Stop asking, "How can I do more?" and start asking, "What is damaging my brain right now?" Remove before you add. Protect before you push. Because a young brain is not built only through effort. It is preserved through care. And that leads us to the final part. How to bring all of this together into a simple, daily system you can actually follow. Because a young brain needs silence, depth, and variation. At this point, you may realize something important. This was never just about habits. It was about identity. About who you choose to be every day. Because keeping your brain young is not a weekend project or a 7-day challenge. It's a lifestyle. A way of living with awareness, courage, and intention. Let's bring everything together in one clear truth. A young brain is built through habits, fueled by courage, and protected by daily awareness. Habits wake the brain up. Small actions like using your non-dominant hand, walking without your phone, or ending your shower with cold water remind your brain that it is alive. Courage keeps it growing. Doing things that feel uncomfortable, speaking up, trying something new, facing difficulty instead of avoiding it. Awareness protects it. Noticing what drains your attention, what steals your focus, what keeps you trapped in autopilot. This is where the identity shift happens. You stop saying, "I want an easy life," and you start saying, "I want a clear mind." You stop protecting comfort and start protecting your brain. You no longer ask what feels good right now. You ask what keeps your mind strong in the long run. Say this to yourself. Not as a quote, but as a decision. I don't protect comfort. I protect my mind. Now, let me give you a simple 30-day mindset. Not a strict plan. Just a direction. Every day, do 3 things. 1 challenge. 1 moment of silence. 1 new action. That's it. 1 small struggle that pushes you. 1 quiet moment with no input. 1 change that breaks routine. These 3 things, done daily, will slowly change how your brain feels, thinks, and lives. You don't need motivation. You need commitment. You don't need perfection. You need consistency. And you don't need to wait until your brain feels better. You act first, and clarity follows. If this message spoke to you, if you want your brain to be alive, not just existing, show it. Like if you want your brain to live, not just survive. Subscribe to Inspire English Stories for more stories that help you grow your mind and your English together. Comment below. I choose to protect my brain. And remember this as you move forward. Your brain stays young when you refuse to live on autopilot.